rapidly in orbit.
Welcome to What It Means to Be Human. I'm your host, Dan Zetterstrom. In each episode, I explore profound questions and thought-provoking ideas with leading voices from around the world. Today, we're going to be talking about Beatriz Villarroel's work on transients in the atmosphere, the 3I Atlas object that's currently in the solar system, age of disclosure, signals that we've sent into the cosmos and when they're going to get back to us, and so much more, including a UFO or UFno. But to talk about all that, I'm going to need my awesome co-host. So here's Roz.
Hey, Dan. How's it going?
Good, thank you. How you doing?
I'm good. Happy Signal Day. This is always my favorite day when we get together and talk and chat about all of the news. And it's been tough to get together this time. You and I are both like really busy. You were away. I'm going away. It's just been a bit of a hairy time. But gosh, there's so much on the docket to discuss today. Like, it's just kind of crazy, all the things that are unfolding right now. I don't know. It seems like a lot of news.
So what's been going on since we last spoke to people? We've had the interview with Dr. Michelle Fournet, the marine biologist, which was super interesting. And I actually have part of the whale song that she discovered and, transcribed into a visual on my wrist there. That's the whoop sound, essentially whales shouting, "I am," into the abyss of the ocean and seeing if someone calls back. And isn't that just life, Roz?
Oh, I love that. I am. I mean, that's so big in the yoga world, right? I am.
Right.
I am that, right? It's like a mantra. It's a mantra. Yep. It's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we had a question that was asked from Lou Elizondo, where he asked her about nonverbal languages, which, Lou ran the DoD UFO investigation. So if he's asking someone about nonverbal languages, that probably means that that's an important thing to consider when we're talking about UFOs and the visitors and who's here, right?
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a breadcrumb to me.
Right. Lose breadcrumbs. Lose clues. Maybe we should have a segment called Lose Clues.
Oh, genius. I love that.
Then we had an episode of Contact with Vinny Adams from Disclosure Team. We talked about Colombia. How did you feel hearing that story? Because I was there, but obviously you were not. So how did you feel?
Oh, I loved Vinny's story, and it was so fun for him to like put us in, the headspace where he was when you guys were there and doing that work on the ground and, waiting and hoping to see something, but, just kind of with bated breath, not expecting, right? And then for the big surprise, I mean, I don't want to say too much in case somebody's like, if people want to go and listen to it, right?
Go listen to it. We also put the footage up on the YouTube channel so people can go actually watch the footage that he filmed. And I should say, Roz was very clever when she edited it, because in certain parts of that episode, you hear what sounds like a reconstruction of Vinny's reaction. But it's actually Vinny's reaction. We had cameras rolling when we were seeing these lights. So what you hear in that episode is how he reacted in the moment back then, which was really cool.
That was so fun to put together. It was really fun to play around with the audio and just that's for me, that's the creative, that's the fun part of editing, is getting to really immerse the audience into stories, right? And so I felt like that moment, having his audio from that moment was so powerful, right? And not just him, but the people that were there. So you really get the sense of like what's happening in the moment and the excitement, and it's like so palpable, right? It was really cool.
Yeah. And then we had our interview with Sarah Gam, which as of this recording, only a single part is out. Part 2 is coming next week. The first part is kind of nuts and bolts, her work with the UAP task force and, how she grew up kind of a fourth generation farmer in Missouri, and then kind of ends up studying astrophysics and working for the US government, analyzing satellite signals, which is a wild journey, but, really cool. And then the second part is about her mediumship, because she's a medium. And so we get into like mediumship, spirituality, all that kind of stuff. And we try and link everything back to the phenomena. So, even if you're not into like the woo, there's a lot that you'll get out of that, I think. Sarah also mentioned one of her sightings, or a few sightings, including a blue being that came into her bedroom, which has been in no other interview. So go watch it just for that. It's right at the end of part 1. But she mentioned that she had sightings at the Brown Mountains, which are known as the Brown Mountain Lights. And amazingly, I also have been there. And on the first night I was there, I filmed so much footage of these lights on the mountain, and it was incredible. So I'm going to put that up on YouTube for people to watch as well, just so they can get an idea of what these lights are that are happening. And the crazy thing is, the Brown Mountains, where the lights were occurring, the geology is very similar to where we were in Colombia filming the lights.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Even the
How
shape
so?
of
Like,
the top of the mountain.
really?
Like the materials that are there, the shape of the top of the mountain. So, I'm leaning that it's something geological, but maybe we could tap into that for power and stuff. That would be incredible.
Have you seen, there's an episode of, I believe it's Ancient Aliens. Is it Ancient Aliens? No, sorry, it was Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Of course, it was Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. I'm obsessed with these shows. But they did an episode last season on Mount Shasta.
Yes.
In California, right? And I've driven by that mountain multiple times because I used to live in BC, right? So we would take the I-5 and drive down to, California. And just even seeing it from the highway going by, you're like, wow, that is like, I believe it used to be a volcano, I think. I hope I'm getting that right. It has the shape of it, right? It's like this beautiful tall mountain. It just juts out of the landscape. And so to see that they had an episode on that was really cool. I don't know. Did you see that episode, Dan?
I didn't know, but
okay.
I've got the episodes and I can see that it's one of them. I'm working through them.
Fascinating. Oh, it's fascinating. Like they're inside the mountain at one point. All these caves and everything
That's
inside
so cool.
it. Wow.
And that links really well.
Cool.
If you haven't seen Helia, I highly recommend you go watch Helia because you'd really dig it. So Shasta is a volcano, or was a volcano.
It was a volcano. Okay, good.
It was,
good.
yeah. It's now called a stratovolcano, which is an ex-volcano. So, people can change.
Amazing.
Yeah, and there's so much in that show. Halia, where it kind of gets into the weirder sides of the UFO stuff, but explores how it links with, spirits, demons, goblins, or all that kind of stuff that we call cryptozoology or spiritualism or just the woo. And there's a big crossover. And so the TV series is like a self-produced thing by Greg Newkirk, and who does a podcast called the Haunted Objects Podcast. Great podcast if you haven't listened, really good. And it kind of just tracks their journey, investigates in the Hopkinsville Goblin case, because there's an insight in email they get that is chilling when it's read out, right? Have you watched this, Roz?
I have, yeah. I have.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, don't they also get into Indrid Cold and the Mothman
They
stuff?
do, yes.
Yeah.
So it's all linked and it's all like from there. And again, I got to go there and I got to go to these places and we used like the local archive to find the map, to find where the original sighting happened. And we went and this guy chases off his land with guns and stuff. Yeah. So most TV shows that you see that go to the guy's like site, because the parcel of land has now been broken up. The Hopkinsville case happened on. So there are multiple houses. And the main house, basically it's the field behind that house where everything happened. And so you kind of have to have permission to go look. And I know for a fact there are some UFO TV shows where they did not ask permission. Or they did, they were told no, and then they went to a different road and went into the guy's garden anyway.
Yeah. And this is how we get a bad name, everybody, okay?
Yes, right. Yeah. I won't name names on that one because it was told to me as a funny story where I was like, oh my God, really? Like he had shotguns.
Yeah, oh no. It kind of reminds me of James Fox's documentary when they show up at that house of
the last guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you want to talk? And he's like, go away.
Yeah,
but
and
in
James
Spanish.
Fox is outside, and exactly. Yeah, that's right. And he's like, this is a little sketchy. I don't know. And it was actually pretty tense in his documentary.
It was.
I think was that the first? Was that his first Brazil doc?
That was
Varginha?
Moments of Contact. Yes, the Varginha case. And there is actually I was going to leave this for another show, but it's on topic. So he's actually bringing out like a kind of follow-up / director's cut early December. So look for that if you like that case. Were you a fan of that documentary, Roz?
Yeah. I mean, I love James Fox. I don't know. Gosh, I'm such a fangirl. I feel like everybody we talk about, I'm like, I love George Knapp. I love James Fox. I just love everybody.
I like the positivity.
Yeah. It's just anybody who like puts that much of themselves into something. I just have so much respect for. It's so hard. It's not an easy road, right? So
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Yeah.
And especially traveling to these remote places in South America as well. So many places aren't easy to get to. It's not just like roads like here. They don't even, when I was in Colombia, the thing that blew my mind is they have a mail system, but I was warned, like, don't order anything because you'll never get it. Like, we have a system, but we just don't use it because it's terrible.
Right.
Whereas that's something I take for granted, you know?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, exactly. No, his doc was great. Yes, it was fantastic. And I'm super excited for the next chapter of that too. I will watch whatever James Fox makes until the day he stops making documentaries. Let's just
Which I hope he doesn't.
Yes, me too.
Because he is wonderful. The phenomenon still stands as like, at the top of any UFO media. If you're interested in this, go watch James Fox's The Phenomena. He put it on YouTube for free, but it is produced so well, and the section on the Ariel School incident is just so emotional and pulls your heartstrings. Just perfect.
Yeah,
just perfect. Okay, so I'll also add that on our YouTube, I'm also adding some resources as well for people to kind of, not debunk, but it will help people. So there's an app called UFO Camera app where you can put a UFO in anything that you film, basically in the sky. And they have multiple different models, and they update those models. So I've gone through the app and put all the models in the video for people so that if they see a UFO video, they can just compare the models in my video without having to go in the app and check them all and stuff like that. So little resources like that are going to be popping up on our YouTube. We talk about the Tic Tac video all the time. I'm going to put that up there just so you don't have to search for it. Just make it easier for everybody. So expect some like archivey posts and actual research help posts, as well as, interviews, contact. Wow, we're a little busy, Roz, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, just a bit.
So let's do our UFO or UFno seg. We need like a theme song. Maybe we should use some AI to do a theme song for that. But before we go into the new one, I should say that the last one we did, the Toronto, Canada one, with the object kind of in the air. We actually got a solve pretty much on that, which is amazing. So it moves from a UFO to a UFno now, and that's great because it's not something we have to think about anymore, and that's awesome. It did in fact come from my mother-in-law, who is an avid bird watcher. So DC Simplicity 36 on Instagram, she said, "It soars like a vulture, but I think it may be a bald eagle. The flashes of light could be the sun reflecting off its white head or tail. Toronto is by the water where eagles live. They like to catch the updrafts and soar like that." Definitive. Genius. And we've spoken, and she's like, yeah, I've seen it happen. So it just looked familiar to me. So just goes to show, right? Something that looked crazy to us and we couldn't figure it out, to someone else, it was the simplest thing to figure out. I love that. It's a solve.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a crowdsource solve.
Crowdsource solve.
Shout out Don Celeste. You can solve for us anytime.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So,
okay.
This week's UFO or UFno is actually a video that I took in Mexico when I was traveling at a Popocatépetl volcano. Say that 5 times as well.
I can't believe you got that right. Yeah, that's amazing.
People call it El Popo, just because it's easier to say.
Yes,
yeah, but I like it's just fun. Popocatépetl, like it's a fun word to say. But basically, you can see the volcano in the distance when you're stood on Cholula, which is the biggest pyramid by volume in the world. Not as tall as the Great Pyramid in Egypt, but it was enormous. And when the Spanish came, they kind of destroyed it all, and there's now a Catholic church on top of it where I was given a bag of holy water. One of the weirdest things I've ever been given, to be honest. And but it was beautiful. I just got to kind of look over the city as you see in the video, and I watched the sunset as the volcano's like smoking and stuff like that. But it is a UFO hotspot, which is why I stayed there so long. And I saw something, Roz, and I took a video.
Wow.
And this video has technically been seen by millions because it was on Ancient Aliens. Ooh. So I'm going to show you guys here.
Love it.
I'll turn the volume down just a little bit. So, you can see in the distance, this is El Popo.
Beautiful.
You can hear like all the music from the festivals and stuff kind of going on. They had a big celebration in the evening. But I spotted this object, and I zoom into it in a second. You will see.
Wow.
And it's essentially like this little black dot just going through the sky.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And it's going very straight. I didn't really see where it came from. I just
Wow.
spotted it when it was there. It looked really far away because my initial reaction was, oh, that's a balloon from a town. But it's not tumbling. There's no glinting from the sun, which I guess is low, so that might be limited anyway. But it's just kind of steadily moving through. And it looks like it's getting smaller as well, so I think it's moving away from me, at an angle. But in a second, you'll see, there's a distinct contrast difference between the background, the volcano here, and the object. But you'll see it crosses over, and you can kind of see it.
Yes.
And wait for it, and it's gone.
Disappeared. Where did it go?
It's just gone. And now, like, this is half of the video, and the rest of the video is me just zooming around trying to find this damn thing again. And I just couldn't.
Oh,
like, it went in front of that mountain, high contrast object. I should have been able to see it carrying on, and I could not.
Wow, that's wild. That's wild. Have you put this online anywhere? Is this living online right now?
So I put it on X when it happened. And I just kind of said, I don't know what it is. I'm leaning prosaic, but I don't know. Truly, I don't know. And that's when, the producers of Ancient Aliens saw it. And we were like, yeah, we were doing an episode on El Popo. So we'd love to show you a video. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to share it.
That's wild. I mean, it doesn't look like a drone at all. It doesn't, I mean, I guess it could be, but drones usually have flashing lights on them. Like, I don't know. Drones just have like a very kind of specific way that they fly. You could just kind of tell. I don't know, when I'm looking at something that looks like a round ball. It looks like one of those orb UFOs.
It looks like a round ball. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah,
so this
like
is why my brain
silver.
goes like, oh, it could be a balloon, I guess, but it's not a jazzy color.
No,
it's not glinting. It's not reflective.
No,
it's
but
just
it could
like,
be just because it's shadowed, right? Like,
maybe,
we're
like
just
say the sun's
seeing
kind
the
of setting
shadow.
behind it.
Yeah, that is really wild. I could see why Ancient Aliens wanted to air this. Anybody listening right now who's not actually watching, you need to go to YouTube and watch this. It's
a really cool one.
It's pretty spectacular. Yeah. I'm sure you've done a zoom in on it.
I have. I mean, the problem is here is that I'm using the digital zoom in the camera to get in closer to this thing.
Right.
So I'm losing a lot of detail here.
Yeah.
Which is
the resolution. Yeah.
It's weird because in UFO world, obviously, people want the close-ups and you want to get the close-ups and stuff. But the fact of life is that the tools we have aren't designed for filming things that far away,
Can we talk about that just for a brief moment? Which is like, as someone who works in production with cameras, like that is the most irritating thing that I hear from people is like, why can't you get a shot of it? It's like, you can't film something far away, first of all, without a tripod. Because your camera is going to be shaking so much that you're not going to be able to hold it still, because the further you're zoomed in, the more the shake, you pick up, right? So it looks, you can't, like, nobody's running around with a tripod just ready to like drop it down in a moment's notice and be like, oh my God, it's a UFO. Let me, to get like a good shot. And then, secondly, like smartphone sensors are pretty terrible. Right? Like they're quite small. The amount of color that they can actually capture compared to even something like a DSLR is like limited, extremely
and the process
limited, right?
that it goes through, translating the light to the digital ones and zeros is a really like destructive process. And that's where you get into the difference between like SLRs and phones, because phones have to condense things and it makes guesses using, I'm going to say neural nets. That's basically what AI is now. Like, we talk about that. And it uses it to kind of like guess the colors around it. And so very often when you watch video back and you're zooming in, you're seeing a lot of corrected stuff. It's almost like a memory changing, and the phone just gives it to us without kind of telling us that that's happening. So we've also always got to be aware of these things. And the same when I see people like doing this and they'll take, like the video I've just shown and kind of put it in an AI upscale thing. And then they'll zoom in on the object and go, oh, look at this detail. The detail was never there in the first place. It's made it up entirely. These things are useful to a certain extent, but you got to know what the tool does to what you're processing. Otherwise, you end up going, oh, it looks like it has eyes, and it's like, no, it's a black dot. Like, if it's a black dot in the original video, you can't get anything else out of it.
The AI added the eyes. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Because it's
Yeah.
like you say, it's reinterpreting the footage, right? It's
Sure.
reinterpreting it, re-encoding it, spitting it out to you as what it
According to
thinks
what it
is the
knows
best
as well.
representation. Yeah. And it's like always going to be slightly flawed, you know? And the other thing too around that was like one of the things I loved about Skinwalker Ranch the last season was, you know, they're really getting into using these high-speed cameras, right? Because a lot of these objects are moving so fast that like the naked eye doesn't even see them. Right? Like you actually need to film them in high speed in order to see them, right? Our eyes just don't, our frame rate in our eyes is not that fast, right?
No. No,
so it's
not
been
at all.
really cool. That's part of what I love about that show is the cameras and the technology they're using to try to capture the visuals of these things, right? Because
I wish it was
a huge limitation.
I wish it was so much more nerdy in a technical sense because I'd be there for it. Like I understand that most people would be like, oh, that's kind of boring. I don't want to know. But I'm like, I want to know what gigahertz processor you're using, Eric. I want to know the pipelines and the data compression and everything like that.
Totally. I love it. I watch it for the tech. Honestly, I love when they bring out the drones and they're like, here's a drone swarm. And I'm just like, amazing. It's my favorite. Yeah. Slightly nerdy.
Maybe the next UFO or UFno, I'll bring some of my footage that I filmed from Skinwalker Ranch and you can,
yes.
You can have a wonder.
You're holding out on me? You have footage from Skinwalker Ranch?
I have footage from all over, Roz.
Oh my gosh.
This is the nice thing about getting out in the world, right? And just experiencing this stuff because it's so different from just talking about it and seeing it online, like being there and experiencing it and actually feeling your brain like snap at certain parts, at certain things you see is just a different experience. And that's the context that gets lost. You know, I almost wish I could give people the experience I had in these places filming these videos. Because the video is just the video, you know? Yeah, wild. So yeah, we'll do that one next time.
Okay.
We'll do that.
We're just going to mine Dan's archives for UFO or UFno.
So let's get into our first kind of news item here. So we're looking at Beatriz Villarroel's work on transients. And basically in the 1950s, before the first satellite, before Sputnik was put into orbit, the Palomar Observatory quietly photographed just the night sky and often. And Beatriz and her team looked at these photographs of the night sky and they found something really unusual. They found thousands of brief star-like flashes that appeared once and vanished. So the idea is, and of course we don't know what these objects are, so the science is ongoing, but the idea is that maybe we're being watched. And what makes this bit of work different is this is a peer-reviewed paper. This isn't just someone spewing out a blog post online going, oh, this is crazy, I found these things. This is someone who's done the scientific work, given it to the science community. They fed back saying, oh, you haven't done X, Y, Z. Then she's gone and done X, Y, Z, and also produced a second paper to kind of touch on some points that the scientists brought up and found that actually the correlation was stronger now than it was before when she looked. So it's wild that this is essentially like our first peer-reviewed, maybe not our first peer-reviewed UAP paper, because I know Jack Valet and Gary Nolan have looked at materials, but in terms of like a new, wow, there were UAP in the sky in the 50s kind of thing, this is pretty good. You know, it was on nature.com, a whole host of other, you know, really big science websites. And there's the usual naysaying, but there's also a whole bunch of scientists going, oh, this is interesting. We're going to look at this.
So cool. I actually listened to her interview with Gary Nolan. I think it was a Soul Foundation interview that they did. And it was just fascinating because, you know, I was saying to Dale, my husband, like, I love just the way that she looked at this. Like, what a unique way to approach the subject, right? Let me look at the night sky and look at these photos and then compare them, you know, to pictures from later and like overlay them. I was saying to Dale, it's almost like those old, you know, encyclopedias that you'd get where you'd have that clear page that you would lay over top of the other page and it would like, right? And it would like color in. Oh man, I'm so dating myself with that reference. Nobody today knows what an encyclopedia is. But, you know, it was just like, that's what I thought about her research. I was like, that is so innovative and what a cool way to look at it. And also, of course, I love that she's a woman. And she's like brought this, to the table, this incredibly unique approach, and has had such huge success so far, right? And like you say, they don't know what they are. Of course, like they're still trying to figure that out. And like she was saying in the interview with Gary Nolan, more dollars are needed for her to get more photos from different observatories around the world so that they can actually get a bigger picture of this, right? Like, is this the same in different places? But, wow, what an amazing study. I mean, it's got to be historic, in my opinion.
I think so.
Right?
I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, so groundbreaking, really cool. And what she said on that interview was because I was like, how did she ever come up with the idea to look at it this way? Like, such an innovative approach. And I believe she said something in that interview about how she had actually been looking for do stars ever disappear or something, was what she was actually initially researching. And she kind of stumbled across this through her research initially on that first idea of, do stars disappear? Do things in the night sky disappear? Right. And I was like, I love that even more because, so many like amazing inventions and things come out of, asking a different question, right?
Yeah.
Following it down the road and then kind of stumbling upon, right? Something that you hadn't expected. And that's the exciting part about science, right? When it's being done right, is like you have the potential to discover all these things. Like, so exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting.
100%. And what I love about that as well is that, she's not a UFO person coming to this data. She's someone that has done genuine science and found an anomaly and is sharing it and has gone, oh, there seemed to be something orbiting us before we ever put something in space, which, she obviously hasn't proved that it's aliens, but she's proved something is there. And so the UFO community is grabbing it like, candy and kind of going, here we go, finally. And there's a couple of other aspects to this. So I'm just going to run through. So there were two papers. There was, the first paper is Transients in the Palomar Observatory Sky Survey may be associated with nuclear testing and reports of unidentified anomalous phenomena. So she wanted to test whether unexplained short-lived, star-like transients seen in the 1950s were statistically associated with nuclear weapons tests or reports of UFOs. I.e., when this is happening in the sky, is there a nuclear bomb going off beneath it, or is there a UFO sighting somewhere on Earth? So they looked at around, I want to say like 100,000, they call them POS-1 transients, and they were taken in 1949 to 1957, as I say, before Sputnik. And they compared these with the known dates of nuclear tests and with 2,400 days of UAP reports from the UFO CAT database, which is huge. So they analyzed 2,718 days of data, basically, which is insane, right? And they found that there was a correlation between the nuclear tests happening and these things being present. They were 45% more likely to occur within 1 day of a nuclear test, and the strongest effect was 1 day after a nuclear test. It had 68% higher likelihood that you'd see these transients after a nuclear test. Very suggestive, right? The UAP report correlation, on days with at least one transient, the number of transients increased by 8.5% for every additional UAP report. So when there were UAP reports, there were 10% more transients present in the atmosphere. Again, the implications are huge there, right? I'm so glad that she's
yes, it gives me goosebumps. Like, it really does. Like, I'm like, ooh, I feel it.
In two ways for me as well, it gives me goosebumps. One is like, oh, wow, this is incredible. This is how we would find something out like this, right? Like, oh, yeah, we're going to look at photographs for something. Oh, wait, what's that in the background? And also, like, there's a little bit of fear there for me. I'm not going to lie. Like, is something watching us? Has it been watching us for hundreds and hundreds of years? Again, one thing to read about that and to entertain the idea in your head, but it's a totally different thing for someone to actually be finding things that were orbiting us and, yeah, like checking in on us or look at, like, that's just really weird. It's like finding someone that has been looking in your house windows, right, in a bunch of photos that you took at a party, and you're like, who is that person? And they just show up randomly. And then you've got people saying, no, there was no person in the window. And you're like, no, there is. Look, they're there. And they show up more when there's a party. If there's loud noise, they're more likely to be there. That's just how it would go. So yeah, dates that coincided with both nuclear tests and UAP reports had the highest transient counts, which is what you would expect if the transients were UFOs kind of coming down from space to do their thing. So that suggests a small but significant correlations, not explainable by chance, not explainable by photographic defects on the plates themselves. These were compared. She looked at, the night side, and if you were looking at the night side plates when there's no light in the photos, if it was a problem with the plates, you would still see them on the plates. They wouldn't disappear, and they just disappeared, it seems. They were there in some and just not there. So they're coming and going from somewhere and watching. That's the interpretation. So the speculative hypothesis of this is atmospheric or radiation effects from the nuclear testing, reflection or emission from unknown objects possibly linked to the UAP phenomena. There's that one. And that it's unlikely to be plate damage or observational bias. The second paper was called Aligned Multiple Transient Events in the First Palomar Sky Survey. And this is just generally looking at it. So the aim here was to investigate whether groups of aligned simultaneous transients on the PAS-1 photographic plates might represent reflections from artificial or unknown high-altitude objects, possibly even technosignatures. They looked at the VASCO project catalog of about 300,000. It says around 298,000, but I'm going to say around 300,000 because it sounds cooler. They searched for multiple transients on a single 50-minute exposure aligned with narrow geometric bands. They verified the alignments and applied statistical alignment tests. They found 83 candidate alignments narrowed to 5 high-confidence events. The most significant alignment was around 3.9 sigma. Now, in science, when we're talking about papers, sigma is the kind of the amount of certainty you have about something. Nothing is 100% certain, but if you get to like 99%, science is like, cool, we're happy. If you repeat that 100 times, there is some variation in what you were doing because the world is the world, but that's a fairly, strong correlation. 6 sigma is the gold standard. So if you're 6 sigma sure of your results, then it's absolute. Like, no one's going to question it. They'll question your methods and try and, figure out if the results are real, if they're nuts like these ones. But 6 sigma is about the, what you want to get. So this was 3.9 sigma. So that's really high. And then when her team was looking at the deficit of transients within Earth's shadow, which were consistent with reflections from sunlight, supporting an orbital source, which is essentially what I was saying about them going into the dark side and they should still be there. It was 22 sigma. 6 is certain. 22 sigma is what they found. That's insane. There was something there, and it was watching us. And Beatriz, in various interviews, has talked about how the 1952 event, which was candidate 5, coincides with the Washington, D.C. UFO flap in 52, where they flew over, Congress and stuff. Another candidate, 1954, aligns with the European 54 UFO wave. And, the list just goes on. Tantalizing, right? Incredible.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Yeah. And I know a lot of people, there's definitely been, suggestion around the nuclear testing side of it, which is, maybe it was something to do with the nuclear testing that like ejected something into the atmosphere that, caused these things to, you know what I mean? Like when the bombs go off, it ejects something and like it's catching that. But
sure.
It's pretty undeniable.
Yeah.
Like
22 sigma is absolutely undeniable. Anyone telling you that this is a made up thing and you shouldn't be paying attention to it, that's like I am 6 sigma certain that my hand will not go through the table if I push on it. That's how absolutely certain that is. 22 sigma certain is just, it's too much. Like you'd never say it because 6 is certain. You know, that's crazy. But they're going to be doing more work on this going forward. Like more scientists are looking for more plates. Like you say, I've already heard that there might be already these things found on plates from a French observatory. So that would be 2 different continents at that point. So, it gets stronger at that point. The 22 sigma is going to go up to like 100 sigma. And pretty much with this, anyone saying that there's nothing there needs to put a tinfoil hat on officially because they're just denying reality at that point. Like we need to switch it up.
Yeah, it's like, at what point is it a smoking gun, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, it feels like, with this research and this type of study, she's on the path to having that smoking gun. Like, it's wild. I mean, I'm so excited to see where it goes from here. And I love that in the Soul Foundation interview, Gary Nolan was asking her, like, how much money do you need? Like, how much money do you need to
Just
get
give it
this
to
done?
her. Just give it to her.
Exactly. I said to Dale, I'm like, Gary Nolan is the money badger. Like, he'll go out there and find the money, to make this happen, right? Because that's what he does, right? He gets funding for all of his projects and, spins up technology companies and sells them and then on to the next thing, like, how many companies does he have? 20 or something? I don't know.
Yeah, it's so many patents.
So yeah, so I could just tell that he's just like, money badgering there, clawing the table, right? Like, what do you need? Let's get this going, right? Because I think everybody's super excited about it. It was such an interesting conversation that they had with her. I recommend anybody out there, take a listen to that interview that he did with her. It was really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And Beatrice, I'm lucky to say, is a friend. I've spoken to her a number of times before all this stuff came out. I was putting a calendar together for her to like compare the dates of the transients to UFO events. Turns out she didn't need it because, she's a smart cookie. But hopefully I'll reach out and maybe we can have her on and have a chat.
Yes, let's get her on the show, Dan. Get her on the show.
Yeah. So next, what do you want to talk about? 3i Atlas, or do you want to have a little bit of fun first? Because
oh gosh,
I can't imagine some of these messages we sent to space, and some of them are just wild, Roz. You don't even know.
Oh my gosh. Well, it sounds like we're talking about things in space regardless. So you pick, Dan.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do messages to space because that was a heavy one. So we're going to come away from the science, and well, it's still science, but you know what I mean. Okay. Yeah. So what messages have we sent to space? Right? Things to could be sending us messages, but what have we put out there for people to find? What notes in bottles exist? So obviously, in the 70s, we sent out the Pioneer plaques. This is the kind of, if you recognize the disc that has like the naked man and woman on it, and then like, almost an asterisk, but just with more arms next to it. That was sent out in 72. It contains basically our biology, kind of a description of us, that was controversial at the time. It was referred to as smut because the woman was not as detailed as the man, and it was thought to be sexist. And so there was a whole controversy around it. It also contains the sun's position relative to 14 pulsars. So if you actually look at it, you can see that there's a unit of measurement given on it, which is the width of a hydrogen atom. And then everything distance-wise is relayed in binary compared to the size of that hydrogen atom, which is the most abundant element in the universe. So the idea being that some other species would see that too, which is kind of clever, right? Really hard to figure out. It has an outline of a spacecraft and a hyperline transition of hydrogen. That's universal of measurement there. So that was sent near Aldebaran, about 65 light years away from it. We would get their message if they received that. And when they received that and sent it back, we would get the answer 2130. But realistically, that signal is just going to wander the interstellar dark for, millions of years. That brings us to 1977, which is the Voyager Golden Records, which are kind of creepy, but kind of awesome if you listen to them. This spacecraft contained a 12-inch gold-plated record, which was like a time capsule, put together by Carl Sagan's team. It includes 115 images of life on Earth, from DNA to city skylines, 90 minutes of music from Bach to Chuck Berry to Senegalese percussion, greetings in 55 different languages from children and adults all around the world. Natural sounds like thunder, birds, a heartbeat, whales, laughter. Whales. Yeah, it would have been cool to know that when Michelle was here. I could have asked her. But also printed instructions for playback and decoding. And there's actually like strapped to the spacecraft itself a little diamond needle for actually, using it to read the record. Because I guess they couldn't figure out like, oh, how do we explain how to make this? We'll send them that component too. So that reply, Voyager 1 is about 24 billion kilometers 160 light years from Earth, heading towards Ophiuchus, I think that's how you pronounce it. The nearest star in that direction is about 17.6 light years away. So the early possible round trip reply would be 2097 if anyone lives there. So both of those in the future, if anything comes to us. Then we get the Arecibo message from the Arecibo Observatory in 74. This thing is incredible, and this thing has drawn some controversy as well because there was a reply, and I won't get into the reply here, but maybe we can talk about it in a future episode because we don't know if it's a hoax or if it's real, but you know.
It's real. It's real.
You think it's real? Okay, well, we'll get into it and we'll discuss it. But, this message was sent out from Puerto Rico. The Arecibo Observatory isn't there anymore, but if you are an X-Files fan, the first episode of season 2, Little Green Men, is set in Arecibo Observatory, and it's a really cool episode. It's the first one I ever saw. So it hooked me. So definitely go watch that if you can. And yeah, when the aliens come, they play back the Voyager message over the speakers, and that's why it's creepy to me, because I just think of that and the bright light coming through the door, you know. But that one had a binary coded radio message of 1,679 bits in a 23 by 73 grid, which encoded the numbers 1 to 10, the DNA structure, the human form, the solar system diagram, and a schematic of the Arecibo Observatory itself, which is now useless because it fell down. The reply
sad
is
ending.
due.
Tragic
It's a
ending.
sad ending. It fell down a few years back. But there is like a new one being built in China, which is just enormous. It's even bigger. So if we got a reply, you know, that would pick it up no problem, and it be in China probably turns into 3-body problem at that point, right? So it's about a 50,000 year round trip, that message. So that's a long way in the future.
Wow.
No one who is listening to this is, unless, you know, this show somehow survives, but we'll ever hear the reply to that. And then we get to, this is my favorite one. This signal was titled Poetica Vaginal. And it was sent out in 1986. And basically, because of all the controversy about the naked images of people that were being sent into space on these spacecraft, someone decided to just go extreme with it and kind of just say, oh, you're all just being, you know, prudes. So what this person did, they sent this from the Millstone Hill radar in Massachusetts, USA. And there were 4 targets. 2 have never been identified. But Epsilon Eridani, which is 10.5 light years away, that has a confirmed planet similar to Jupiter, so gaseous, really big. And then also Tau Ceti, which is 11.9 light years away. Older than the Sun, has 4 planets, 2 near the habitable zone of that star. So could well be, you know, life there. The contents of this is the crazy one. So this guy, Joe Davis, he says that he fought back against pearl clutching over these previous messages. So with the help of all sorts of people from around the globe, ballerinas, nurses, everything, he recorded contractions from the female reproductive system. And then as an artist, he manipulated the sounds into something meant to resemble human speech. Right? And maybe you can put the sound in here when you're editing or something. But it basically ends up sounding like
my pearls.
Boom, 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 boom. And it's really weird. And that was broadcast into space from MIT for 15 to 20 minutes before the signal was terminated by an Air Force colonel overseeing the facility. So we literally have recorded vaginal contractions, change them into language, and send them into space. So just out there in the cosmos is just these vagina sounds floating.
Okay, all right. I'm literally pearl clutching when you said that. My hand went for my non-existent pearls. That is.
I knew you'd like that one.
Okay,
it's wild, right?
So
Like,
that's
why did you do that?
That's essentially an orgasm, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, so search Poetica Vaginal. You can listen to the sounds.
It's like
If
if
we
that
remember,
doesn't
we
get
can
a
pop 'em in
reply, nothing will.
So funny you say that, because the target we sent it to actually wasn't that far away, and the reply was due in 2007 to 2010, and we were ghosted.
Oh.
So we sent someone, not dick pics, but vagina sounds, and they ghosted us.
Yeah, we're
Which,
sending out
imagine going on a
porn.
first date and someone just sends you sounds of their vagina. Like, you probably ghost them too, right?
Inappropriate.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that one was hilarious when I was
It's a little
researching this. I was like,
desperate.
no way.
It's a little desperate, right? Like,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
do you need to be that desperate? I don't know. That it's,
Yeah, it's weird.
if there's that, that would be a turnoff for me also.
Yeah.
Say.
So yeah, there you go. Humanity's dick pics and vaginal sounds out in the cosmos.
Oh, my Lord.
So then, to bring it back to a more professional kind of thing, then we had something called Cosmic Call in 1999 and 2003, Cosmic Call 1 and 2. And that was sent from Ukraine to several nearby stars. And that just had digital data on it, basically musical compositions, text messages from Earth citizens. It was a proper message in a bottle. And the closest targets for that were 40 light years away. So we'd be looking at 2080 to 2120 at the earliest that we would get a reply on that. Then there was the teenage message in 2001, again sent from Ukraine, sent to 6 nearby stars. That had Russian teens greetings, analog music, and digital drawings, and also a theremin concert, which, like, if I found, a space probe that fell down and it was a theremin sound, I would be so enormously creeped out by what I'd found.
What is that? I don't even know what it is. What is theremin?
So a theremin it's the musical instrument where when you bring your hand near it, it kind of makes a sound, and so it kind of works through proximity. And I mean, it's a really interesting sound, but it's really ghostly. And so I was like, why have you sent that? Like, you could have said, like, I don't know, some Ed Sheeran or something. Not that I'm a big fan, but, just send some Beatles.
Yes.
But
something
no,
friendly,
theremin.
something welcing, something warm. Okay. That's bizarre.
But it's kind of like the sound of it is like a as you kind of bring your hand near it. And it's just, it gets really weird. But that's about, 50 light years away on average, so that we should get the reply to that again around 2120, 2150.
Okay.
Then we have
I just like your interpretations of the sounds, Dan. I just think you should do, what I mean? We should just have like Dan's interpretation. Like, we need a playlist on YouTube where it's just you making the sounds as you interpret it.
I should have done as we went through, the Voyager one. I'm like That's right. We are the children of Earth. This is the voice of the Mysterons. Okay, so then we have just lone signals and crowd projects, pretty much 2008 to present. All modern private efforts. We had like the Message from Earth in 2008 to Gliese 581c. Something called the Lone Signal and the METI International Experiments as well. And the contents vary for these. Again, just images, mathematical sequences, music, greetings, really, really taking, I guess, Carl Sagan's lead in what he did with the Pioneer probe and the Voyager disks. That reply is due around 2069. So that is within, people listening's lifetimes. So we can keep an eye out for that.
Maybe for my 100th birthday.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. They just message back like, happy birthday, Roz.
Yeah, that's right. Amazing.
And everyone's like, oh my God, who's Roz?
Yeah, that's right. They watch the show. What can I say?
Watch the show, yeah. So then we have just future messages. And that's projects like Beacons in the Galaxy, which were proposed in 2022 to send new signals towards star clusters near the galactic center with detailed artistic, scientific and social information, kind of a hello 2.0, But for that, I mean, it hasn't been sent yet, but if it was to be sent, that's so far away. We're talking about the black hole at the center of the galaxy. We're looking at replies like thousands of years away, if ever. Because you got to remember with these things, we're aiming them somewhere where we think there might be life, but also it's like throwing a dart and hitting bullseye on the other side of the planet on a dartboard that's in a cave, underground, underwater. Like, these are incredible technical feats, but the chances that they actually get there and they're not like a tiny bit off target and just go flying by the planet, pretty high, right?
True.
But I thought it would just be interesting to kind of look at, what junk we're sending out there. And we are sending, our junk out there a lot.
I feel like I've heard at some point that like literally every communication on Earth that goes over, radio waves or like TV waves or however that works, I don't know the science behind it, that is actually all being beamed out into the universe all the time. So
the
it's like,
first
aren't we
signal,
actually a really noisy planet to begin with?
we're pretty noisy,
you know?
but
Yeah.
that kind of degrades as it goes out because of the interference from the
Oh,
cosmos, the radio wave stuff like
okay.
that. So they're not that strong. But if something has the technology
Mm.
to pick something up and buffer it and, looks at ones and zeros and just kind of repairs them, then they should be able to kind of see what we're sending. However, the very, very first signal that we sent out was the Nuremberg Address. So, like that, we're talking like Hitler's Nazi rally. So that is the first signal that we sent into the universe in that particular way. And if you watch Contact, you can hear it. Like it starts with, the camera going from outside the universe to Earth, and you can hear those signals as it kind of passes where they should be, which is a really cool sequence.
Okay. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
So every radio thing we've sent out, someone could just be there listening and absorbing all of this intelligence stuff, because that's essentially humans, right? Like human intelligence, what the DoD calls it. They could learn a lot from us from listening to our radio, but it would be on a time delay. So if they had like light speed ships and they could get here real fast, but they're listening to our radio signals and our TV signals to kind of figure out what they need to bring, they could show up and think that we're still in the 1970s. And actually they'll come down and be like, what? You don't have a flip phone anymore? You have an iPhone? We're not invading now.
Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, maybe that's what those transients in Beatrice's paper are doing. They're sitting out there in our atmosphere listening to our every radio signal, which is kind of embarrassing. Because a lot of what we talk about as humans is pretty,
Right, yeah. It's like, what was it? The first... Was it Egypt? No, Sumer it was, when archaeologists kind of look back and they found like the very first thing that a human had written, and it was a record. It was basically some Janet complaining to a shop that they'd not given her enough alcohol. That was like perfect.
Exactly.
Just so perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, that's about yeah, exactly.
It's like, I ordered like 3 kilos and you've given me 1. You need to fix this or I'm coming to talk to your manager. Like that's literally what it was. It's wild.
So it was a Karen, essentially, is what you're saying.
It was total Karen, yeah.
Yeah,
total
or
Karen.
Janet, as you said. Yes.
Karen,
Is that what you said?
yeah, Janet? I think I said Janet. Yeah, I meant Karen.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah.
I realized I do this a lot. Like I was listening back to one of our shows and there was a time where I was meant to say planet and I said house. And I was like, what? And I was listening back and I was like, I'm talking about sending signals to houses in the universe. And I just laughed. It happens. Brain fart. We're all human.
Oh my God. I love it. I mean, I feel like Janet is maybe the UK version of Karen.
Maybe, yeah.
Like,
well,
yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's what it is. Cultural differences.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So talking about people acting like complete Karens and Janets, there's been a lot to do with this. The 3I Atlas comet. 3I means 3 interstellar. It is the 3rd interstellar object after Oumuamua and the Borisov objects came into the solar system over the last few years. These literally, we've only ever seen 3 of them up to this point. And so there's been a lot of conversation about what it could be, the scientific kind of results from looking at it, and then to add fuel to the fire because of the US shutdown in America, NASA haven't shared their photos of this object. And so the whole UFO community is like, oh my God, it's a ship coming to save us all or to attack us, which is very Heaven's Gate. I've seen this Kool-Aid before. We need to not do that so much and just listen to the science, right? And so I thought, we've spoken about this a few times in past shows, but we've never really gotten into it. So let's start with just our impressions. What's your impression of this thing, Roz?
Yeah, I mean, I love, again, fangirl. I love Avi Loeb. I love everything he's doing. And I love that he's just so open-minded and he's, at least exploring these ideas around,
Sure.
What if this isn't just a comet? What if this is something else, right? Coming from another, by the way, coming from the direction of the WOW signal. I think, asking the question is the most important part, and like science is supposed to be open-minded and looking at these things, in a real way, because from my perspective, it's like if there's some massive rock, in this case, it's like, what is it, 10 kilometers across or something? It's
It's a big one.
massive, right? If this is hurtling through our galaxy, it's coming through the solar system, passing the planets, like, don't we need to at least be looking at these things? Like, shouldn't we
Sure.
be aware of them and tracking them and trying to get more information about them, like, so that we can get at least on top of it? I mean, that's a planet killing object. If it was to collide with Earth, I mean, that would be it, right? And from what I gather from what I've read so far, is that this is a new technology that we've developed that is actually allowing us to see them now. We weren't allowed, or weren't able rather, to track them before because we didn't have the tech to do it. So it's like, now that we have the tech to do it, shouldn't we be doing it? I mean, I don't understand why there's such a kerfuffle around him asking the question, at the very least,
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. And while you said
Yeah.
that as well, I wanted to I was mention this with the transients bit, but we now have this thing called the Vera Rubin Observatory, which before this, we've been pretty much pointing telescopes to the night sky and kind of looking through a straw at the night sky. And you don't see much. And to look around a lot at that, we've been, building up the data using AI to kind of look at it and stuff like that. And it's great, but it's not the best it could be, really limited. Whereas the Vera Rubin Observatory scans the entire visible night sky every 3 to 4 nights. It images
Wow.
about 18,000 square degrees. So, I mean, that's huge swath of the night sky. It's half the celestial sphere visible from its location. So it can only, scan the entire night sky from its half of Earth. So we need like one on the other side to scan. But this thing is designed to catch transients. And in this context, I'm not talking about the maybe UAP transients that the Beatriz and team found, but we're talking about the methods where, we detect exoplanets by seeing something pass in front of a star, right? And then we're like, oh, okay, that looks like there's something orbiting that thing. It passes the star every 24 days, so that's its orbit, and we can kind of figure out there's a planet there. That's one of the ways we find those. But also, it helps us find things like Beatrice is looking at. So we could get some incredible data. This thing only started last year, so we could get some incredible data for Beatrice's work from this. If there's anything up there that's trying to hide, this thing will find it. And it also looks for comets, basically, stuff glinting in the solar system. And its system tells astronomers, hey, this changed. So when it comes to these comets or these objects kind of coming into our solar system and Beatrice's transients and stuff like exoplanets and stuff like that, we're kind of in a new age for looking at that stuff. So I thought that was important to mention. But yeah, back to this piece of like another world passing through our night sky. It's wild for me because I love this stuff anyway. And so, yeah, we've got these interstellar objects kind of passing through. And I say we've only seen 3. There have been thousands, countless that have passed through, but we just haven't seen them. And now we have things like the James Webb, the Vera Rubin. This one in particular was discovered, I believe, the beginning of July by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, which is ATLAS. So, we have these systems there to look for them. And then before I go into the science of what has kind of been found with it, I'm going to tell you my impression of it because I asked you for yours and I haven't given mine.
Yes.
So mine is pretty much that I'm kind of the same position. I'm like, I think it's prosaic, but the science in this prosaic thing that we've only seen 2 of before is incredibly important for us to look at. Also, in the sense that we're kind of changing our thinking. This is a sea change moment where we've gone from, hundreds of years ago looking in the night sky and thinking that there were people with campfires up there because that's all we knew, to now having an understanding of the universe and how our solar system's moving through it and these objects that kind of come in and stuff. That's a night and day difference. But it shows that our thinking is changing as a species in terms of how we look outwards into the cosmos. And Avi Loeb asking the question, I think it's really important to ask it because we're talking about alien life and we're talking about looking for these things. So anything that comes into our solar system, anything, doesn't matter how big or small it is worth looking at. And if we're going to be, looking outwards and kind of going, is there life out there? We're looking for technosignatures. Then we should apply that principle to everything that we find in space. And sure, if it's not a technosignature, fine, no worries. But we at least have to look. And again, there's a fear aspect to it, right? Like we're starting to wonder if we have neighbors. And are the neighbors coming and looking in our windows? Are our neighbors coming and taking things from our house in the middle of the night? Are they the muddy boots that Lou Elizondo keeps talking about? There's a kind of a fear factor to this. And I feel like that's why people are reacting the way they're reacting. You know, I've seen literally some people, minus the Kool-Aid thing, but kind of saying, you know, Atlas is here to take our souls into another realm, and those of us that are on a higher frequency will ascend with it and stuff. And again, just Heaven's Gate, but also I can understand like grasping for something extraordinary in the face of something extraordinary. That makes sense to me. But it just means that science has to do its work. And if people aren't listening to scientists and thinking that it's an alien spaceship, that means science communication is failing and they need to do a better job of talking about it, I think.
Totally. And just, I mean, you know, they're even studying it going behind the sun and like how it's like propelling itself. Like, is it moving away from the sun? Like, has it, you know, it's just even studying the movements of it and the types of minerals that it's burning off. And like, didn't they say something about they think it's now how many billions of years old? Wasn't it something that it's
older than our solar system? Like we're talking billions and billions.
Like 50 billion years or something.
Something like that.
I'm like, that is mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
So like that in and of itself, I mean, is like a messenger, right? It gives us an idea of how much older, right? It is, I guess, outside of our universe, whatever that is, you know, it's like, it bends your minds in all of these ways. It's almost like an archaeological dig, right? Where you like discover a new, you know, like Göbekli Tepe or something. They discover this new, archaeological dig that kind of throws everything up in the air in terms of how long humans have had certain tools or technologies, or, you know, this is the ancient aliens, MO, right? But it's like, that's why you want to discover these things so you can maybe somehow age the rest of the, you know, universe, or get a broader sense of, right? I mean, to me, it's just a no-brainer. I mean, I'm with you. I think prosaic for sure. I've definitely thought that from the get-go, but I love that Avi Loeb is, you know, getting these letters from people who are like, my daughter now wants to go into astrophysics because of this work you're doing. It's like making kids interested, because when you pretend to know everything, it's boring. Like, try to have a conversation with somebody who knows everything and who is a know-it-all. It is the most boring conversation you'll ever have in your life.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like, I don't want to talk to this person. They know everything. Like, what am I, like, what can I possibly offer, you know, to the conversation? It's the same thing with science, right? It's like, if you pretend to know everything, it's boring. You need to have some mystery so that people get excited to, you know, get involved and get into science and into study and have some wonder in life, right? Like, I don't get the clamping down on it. It's weird to me.
It's the policing of it is weird, isn't it? Like, you're not allowed these conversations. It's like, why? Like, we can have these conversations. You know, maybe Avi's work will lead to him putting a thing in space that will find a Earth-killing asteroid that we didn't know was there, and will save all of us. You know, that's worth doing, I think. To the like the kid analogy you were saying, I think it's so true. You know, if you took a kid out of the house and they met, you know, this is the third interstellar object, right? So let's say that this kid leaves the house and meets two dogs, and they think that a dog can be yellow and a dog can be black. And that's it. Like, would you say to that kid, don't meet any more dogs? That's it. You know everything there is to know about dogs now. Like, you wouldn't, right? Like, you would be like, dogs can be brown, dogs can be spotty, dogs can be like they big and small, and there are all these different breeds. Let's go to the park and see some dogs. Like, let's go explore and learn from the curiosity. And I feel like that's being forgotten about in science now, you know?
Yeah, totally. I love it. Did you hear that the folks who are behind the sphere in Vegas approached Avi to get him to build an observatory on top of the sphere?
Yes, it's up there, right? Like, he shared some photos on Joe Rogan, and it's like on top. I don't know how I imagine they've figured it out, but, you know, that sphere is so bright. I don't know if you've ever driven by it. It is an eyesore. And I don't know how they've controlled the light pollution of the city and the sphere to let that thing image the sky properly without being interfered with. maybe, I guess, it's not just cameras on it, right? There's infrared, there's all these other kind of instruments. So it wouldn't be blinding completely. But it was like, oh my God, that must be a really difficult task.
Yeah, he said, it was the Rogan podcast. That's right. He said in that episode that it's actually quite dark there, surprisingly.
Oh, really?
And and maybe they turn it off so that when they scan or something, I don't know. Like maybe they actually dim the light of the sphere. I don't know. But yeah, he was saying like that it's actually quite dark there, which surprised me because I was like, anybody who's been to Vegas knows there's.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, you need to go. Yeah, you need to go out in the desert to find darkness. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
In Vegas.
Right.
Yeah.
And the glow on the horizon is crazy. Like even from Catalina, we could see like, you could be like, oh, there's this huge city there. But then I guess dark could be in a different way. So like they'll have radar on there as well. Radar isn't interfered with by light. So if no airplanes and stuff are going over, maybe the occasional police helicopter, that would be a great dark site to have a radar dish. So there are many ways that, this can work. And that's really cool anyway, because that's like a rock star move, right? Again, it's going to get people interested. It's going to get people kind of going, oh, wait, there are still mysteries in the universe? Okay, I want to be a scientist. I didn't know. I thought we figured everything out.
Right, exactly. It's like, let there be mystery. Let people be curious, right? This is what makes us human. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I just did it.
You said it. You said it. Drink.
Water. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yes. I wanted to get into just, the weird bits of it, because, the scientists have looked at it and a lot of them think, I'd say 99.9% of people think that it's just a comet. But there are some things that it's doing that are strange. And, you can take that as strange for a comet, or you can take that as strange and therefore it's an alien craft. I don't really care. No one has an answer. So I don't know is the correct answer here. But choose your own adventure. But these are the weirdsies with it. For a long while, it was thought not to have a tail. It does now. It's really dim, but it seemed to not have a tail when it should have a tail, which is one of the reasons why people were like, it doesn't look like a comet. Comets have tails. There's also, it's on an extreme hyperbolic orbit, which gets it really close to observing the parts of the solar system and us that we think are important. So if you were sending something into the solar system to have a little peek, this would be a really great way to do it. You kind of hide in plain sight as an object that looks prosaic, but actually is having a little sneak peek at Earth and, anyone that happens to be there. The incoming direction was unexpected as well, relative to models of galactic interstellar debris. But again, it's the third one. So the models had only been informed by 2 pieces of debris before now. So the model really wasn't very good anyway. It is outgassing, CO2, H2O, and dust, exactly like a comet now. And as it went around the sun, there was we expected it, matter to kind of burn off it, whether that's ice evaporating or whatnot. But it didn't actually shed as much as we expected. And so, people like Avi Loeb have these big figures for how much it threw off. But, you got to remember it's relative to size and the motion as well. So as this kind of stuff pushes off it pushes the comet as well. So it kind of speeds up. So the weirdness there was that, according to Avi Loeb, the acceleration and trajectory changed more than he expected. However, other scientists have said, well, it changed more than we expected relative to comets that we know, but this is a new kind of comet. And so, we need to update our models kind of thing. There's also been, controversy because certain agencies like NASA and other agencies around the world just haven't released their pictures of it on kind of, the up and up. And the trouble is it's really far away. So it's like this tiny little pixel and you're not getting this incredible photo of it. We've got to wait for it to come near one of our instruments. And it did so literally as NASA was shutting down for the week because the US government shut down. So no one has been there. Everyone's saying NASA's not sharing this stuff, but it's skeleton crew just supporting life support on the International Space Station and stuff like that. Getting a photo that they know they've taken and have in the archives isn't, a big deal. Someone will release it when it reopens. Alien ship, if this was an alien ship, like there are kind of signs that we look for, right? So if it was an alien probe, we'd be seeing kind of like maneuvers or course corrections inconsistent with gravity alone and outgassing alone. Atlas seems to fit with outgassing and gravitational expectations. Also, the shape. You would probably look in a highly regular geometry, you know, like spherical or a disc or a rectangle, reflective surfaces maybe. There are things that, you know, even if it was an alien ship, you'd kind of go, oh, okay, that's an artificial object. Whereas this thing is unresolved in telescopes, but the variations that we've detected through various other technologies imply like really irregular, natural, dusty nucleus to this thing. So it's not like just a built shape that, you know, is a sphere. Think of it more like us trying to send a rocket into space that is jagged and an oblong and has 50 different sides and just is not aerodynamic at all. Not that something needs to be aerodynamic in space, but, you know, it's got to get out of atmosphere. Then you're looking at the material composition. You know, the expectation would be like metallic, ceramic, or composite kind of materials. You'd be looking for a thinking hand in kind of how it makes these materials. So when we talk about the UFO materials that are studied, they're laid in interesting ways on an atomic level, which is why it raises people's eyebrows. Whereas here we're seeing exactly what we see in comets. CO2, H2O, CO, OCS, just lots of organic dust. So yeah, that for me kind of says that. We also would expect from an alien ship radio emissions, maybe repeating signals, high frequency spikes, anything that would suggest that they're trying to get attention. And that's the thing, right? That's the key thing, trying to get attention. If it's not trying to get attention, it wouldn't be doing these things. So you kind of take some of these things with a pinch of salt. If you're listening to me and kind of going, no, Dan, I wouldn't do that. And great, this is exactly what I want to be thinking about. But please send us in your suggestion because that's really cool. I want to know what you think. So yeah, no real radio signals detected beyond what we already see from other comets and planets and stuff like that. You know, you can take the spin in motion of a pulsar and turn that into a musical note and kind of hear, you know, maybe black hole music, you know, if you do a Google search for that. But that's not necessarily how these things sound in space. And it's just a natural frequency that they're giving off as opposed to, you know, a broadcast you can tune into and listen to. Imagine if there was a signal and people just tune in and listening and it's just like Bella took Edward in his arms. It's just an audiobook Twilight just going through. That'd be something else. So in terms of thermal signature, with an alien craft, we'd be looking at like a constant or heat or temperature or internally generated heat, you know, because there would be a reactor, maybe waste heat from the people living on it. If there's anyone on it, you know, it has its rockets or whatever it's using for propulsion that would produce maybe heat or a lack of. But the point is here that it wouldn't be correlated with sunlight. Whereas with Atlas, the brightness and thermal behavior track with its distance from the sun. So it's heating up as it gets closer to the sun, and there's nothing that's like really throwing that out of balance at all. It's all solar heating that we're seeing on a thermal level. Then we have the tail and coma that, you know, I mentioned. There would be no coma aside from like, or tail aside from maybe an exhaust from a propulsion system of an alien ship. But actually here we're seeing a coma, even though it's, you know, dim, as it moves away from the sun, we should be able to see that coma a lot more. The coma's like, or the tail is stretched as well. So there's still material being blown off it. And then the other thing you got to remember is this thing is so old that it could have been through so many solar systems that all the material on it has actually burnt off already. So, you know, there's kind of a different result compared to our expectations of a comet, because it's a dead comet, maybe. Yeah. And then, you know, interactions with solar winds and things like that, potentially anomalous magnetic plasma effects and stuff like that with an actual alien space probe. Whereas, yeah, with this object, Atlas, we're seeing solar wind interactions that are just completely normal for an ionized gas coma. So for me, I'm, like I say, I'm leaning prosaic. Completely open to being surprised because goddamn, that'd be the coolest thing ever. It could be a Trojan horse, you know.
Yes, it could be. Yes,
but for me, that's Atlas. The interesting parts of it are, you know, Avi Loeb, that, you know, he's really pushing this. But also, there was a Jeremy Corbell documentary on Tubi not long ago where he says in the third part that people are going to be told a lie, that something is coming. And the conversation around the Atlas object has kind of fulfilled Jeremy's prophecy there, where people are talking about this stuff in that way, and that it's going to be a threat and it's a problem and we need to do something about it because, you know, it's an artificial ship from elsewhere. And that flags for me for two reasons. One, because, you know, it's interesting that Jeremy said that and it's just come up. But two, also, when you listen to, and we're going to get into it next, James Lukatsky talk on Weaponized, Dylan Borland, Matthew Brown, Lou Elizondo, any of these guys that have come forward to talk about UFOs, they all say that there are kind of sides in the intelligence community that are pushing talking points, be it through media, be it through social media, be it through, you know, just on X, kind of posting things under fake names. And I mean, that's been happening, right? Like I've been to barbecues with IC people who have told me like, hey, yeah, I'm on X and I'm not giving you my handle because I don't want anyone to know. But we watch and we learn because this is how we gather intelligence and kind of learn from all you guys that are in this day to day. So I'm sat wondering, like, is this the thing Jeremy warned about? And if it is, then the conversation in the community is kind of screwed. And I just want to sit here with you, Roz, and just talk about UFOs and where I can be like, no one else is here. It's just us two.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But didn't Jeremy come out and say that he actually wasn't talking about Atlas when he said that? I thought that he had essentially said something to that effect, that wasn't what he meant, or...
So he elaborated a little bit in the and said basically that the object coming that we need to be fearful of was an example of something that they would say. So it could be Atlas. It's very wishy-washy, right? This is what frustrates people with the UFO community sometimes, because it's just like, that's such a vague statement, I can't do anything with it.
Yeah, all the vague statements. Everything's a vague statement. Yeah.
Yeah. But, and you know, it might not be what Jeremy was talking about, but it could be a test case, right? Like, oh, hey, yeah, there's something in the solar system that we know is prosaic. So let's start this conversation knowing that science knows that it's nothing to be afraid of and that messaging will be out there, but let's see how people react.
I mean, that would mean that Avi Loeb would have to be some kind of plant, wouldn't it? Or that he has some kind of, somebody's feeding him information or something, that because he's really the main person driving the story, Roz, right?
I've heard some stories.
No, I refuse. I don't want to hear
I
it.
have heard stories of handlers.
I don't want to hear it.
I have heard stories of people telling folk that were interviewing Avi that actually, you know, they've said, hey, this interview, if it wasn't for the favor that we're doing, would cost you like $10,000. You know, even though we know it's a comet for the duration of the interview, we're going to pretend that it's not because I want that funding. And that's audio as well. So
you refuse. I refuse to believe
these things
that.
Are always a lot more subtle than the kind of impressions that you're given. You know, in the UFO world, it's very black and white, but it could just be that Avi is straight down the middle and he has someone's ear that is telling him things that might not be true. Or, you know, he wrote a paper with Sean Kirkpatrick from Arrow about what if a mothership came into the solar system and it released a bunch of like little drone ships that came down to Earth. Could that be a thing? I've seen some people mentioning that as like, oh my God, if Avi's mentioning this and Sean Kirkpatrick's mentioning this, then it must be Atlas. So
this is the rabbit hole.
This is the rabbit hole. Yeah, let's back out. Let's back out of the rabbit hole. I'm not going down. I don't have my climbing gear. Let's talk about movies and media, Roz. What's coming out soon?
Very nice. Okay, well, we've got Age of Disclosure, obviously. I'm going to be in Europe at the time that it comes out, but I can tell you I will be watching it from Europe because I've been waiting so long.
November 21st, right?
Yes. And you know, Dan, I was at South by Southwest when this premiered.
Yes.
And I didn't manage to get there.
And I was texting you to go because it was like hundreds, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, if I had wanted to go, it would have cost me like another $1,000 or something because I would have had to have bought another pass and all the stuff. So I was just like, it's just too much for me. So I've been waiting on the edge of my seat for this to come out. So yes, so Age of Disclosure is the big one, right?
Do you think something like that can move the needle? Because it's full of people like, James Clapper, Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio's now, really high up in the US government, part of the administration. And I wonder, for me, I'm not going to learn anything new when I watch it, right? Because I've seen all these people say these things. But are the Baileys, when the Baileys watch it, are they going to see Marco Rubio, their foreign secretary, saying that UFOs are real and describing them in the way we've been describing them since the 50s and lose their minds? Like, do you think that's going to move the needle, or they'll just be like, that guy's crazy?
It really depends on how it's positioned and how the story is told. Like, most of my friends are not at all involved in the topic or the subject, so I tend to think of them when I think of this kind of content. And the reaction with friends generally is like kind of bemusement, I would almost say, to lots of this stuff. Like, they'll watch it and they'll kind of be half kind of laughing a little bit. Like, it's just,
a little nervous laughter.
A little nervous laughter. It's just like a little bit like, what is Russ sucked me into watching, right? So, and also it's like, again, it's one of those paradigm shifting things, right? Where people, they feel a little bit afraid, even considering these things. So sometimes they just shut down completely and like push it away. So I think it just really depends on how it's told and whether it feels, I don't know, like not a propaganda piece, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, it has to feel genuine. So I guess that's a wait and see. My answer on that one's a wait and see. I think for some people, yes, absolutely, it will move the needle, like, for sure. Whether or not and those are people who are already on the fence, but for anybody else who maybe takes a little more pushing, hard to say. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's going to get a certain number of people that wouldn't be in this conversation into the conversation. It's a good on-ramp, and I think we need all the on-ramps we can get because, like I just said, we're all different, right? Different things appeal to us. If Justin Bieber said UFOs are real, I don't care. I'm not listening to that. I'm not taking him seriously. But his fans are going to go, oh, wow. Okay, maybe I should look into this stuff. And I guess the same thing happened with Tom DeLonge when he did To the Stars and stuff like that. And, Taylor Swift wore a UFO dress to the Grammys one year, and it got everyone talking about UFOs and, found out that her partner's dad used to be a MUFON investigator. And so, there's a whole thing there that it's like the conversation is just getting bigger and bigger. And I just think, not everyone has to believe that we're not alone, but just being made to entertain the idea. I think that's where we're being pushed, kind of. And it brings me back to that, the analogy I use about the lobsters in the boiling water. Like, by the time it's a really real thing that we can go and see and touch at a museum or something, we're all going to be so acclimatized to it that we do not goddamn care, apart from people like me who's like, I don't want to leave the museum,
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's right.
I think that's what will happen. And I mean, that negates the whole idea about public panic and stuff like that. It's like, get everyone used to it so they don't care, and then we can just confirm and just get on with our lives.
Yes, that's right. And we're going to review it, you and I. We're going to do a special episode or a special show where we actually talk about it. So I'm really excited for that. I mean, I'm excited for our decompressed conversation after we watch it.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if there's someone we can maybe get to come on with us who isn't a UFO person. And we can get them to watch it and we can talk with them about it. That would be interesting.
It's a good idea. I like that idea. Any of my friends, Dan. I mean,
cool. Pick your favorite friend. And if your friends are listening, note who she picks.
Yeah, exactly. I'll put my thinking cap on. No,
I think that'd be good.
Yes, I agree.
And we can kind of cover all the bases,
Yes.
And then, so we've got, it's out now. You've seen it. I haven't. I have seen the original film, Save the Green Planet, but Bugonia. How is that?
Bugonia.
No spoilers because I'm going to watch it.
I can barely even talk about it because the whole film is like, it sets you up. The whole movie, right? You're like,
what's the log line?
Well, the premise is essentially that Jesse Plemons and his cousin, kidnap Emma Stone because they believe she's an Andromedan. They believe she's an alien.
And she's like a CEO, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a high-powered CEO, and they believe she's an alien who is plotting to essentially kill all humans, take over the planet, and so they kidnap her. That's the log line, I guess.
Okay. And then so Save the Green Planet, it was basically the whole film was basically the guy torturing the CEO, trying to get him to admit that he was an Andromedan, and it was a couple that were doing it, and they were both smitten with each other and both completely dedicated to the cause. Is it the same thing here?
Kind of. Yeah, it doesn't go like, I wouldn't say it's like all about torturing her.
Okay.
So I think maybe I'm
not in a dark way, in
original.
a quirky way. That sounds crazy. Like, how do you torture someone in a quirky way?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But it's Yorgos. I can't remember his last name. Wouldn't pronounce it properly anyway. I think that's his vibe, right? It's like always quirky movies, like Poor Things,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely got that same quirky vibe for sure. But it's also kind of dark, and I mean, it definitely asks a lot of deep questions about what it means to be human, Dan.
Oh, drink.
That's when the audience is like, oh, come on.
I know. Neither of us are drinking alcohol, just so anyone knows. It's just fizzy drinks and coffee.
Yeah. But highly, highly recommend seeing it. Very, very good.
Okay. Yeah. Out of 10 Andromedans, how many Andromedans would you give it?
Definitely 9.
9 that's strong. Okay. I look forward to watching that.
Very, very
good.
And
then we spoke about James Fox's new documentary, Moment of Contact, like the director's cut. That's coming.
Super excited.
One thing to say on that is that he has been pushing this interview with a surgeon who supposedly saw the body of the alien. However, that surgeon has been out here for a while talking. He's not a new person to this story, but the story he tells has changed. Originally, it was that he spoke to a guy who said that he'd operated on. And now it's, I operated on. Ooh. And James Fox says that the reason for that is because he was scared back then, that he didn't want to come forward. For me, that's a red flag. I wouldn't put him in a documentary if that's what he said. I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, sure. But unless you can kind of give me, more proof that you were there at that time, then I can't, I'm not, like... It almost negates itself as a story because he said that it wasn't him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that colors it in a little bit. I'm still going to see it. It. Yes.
I'll watch it with an open mind.
Yes.
But if it's all that kind of stuff, then it's not really going to move the needle. It's for UFO people and no one else,
Yes, exactly.
And then we had a huge new show launch, which I was very excited for, and no one realized that it had anything to do with extraterrestrial life or anything.
Unless
Pluribus.
Unless you were paying attention.
Sure. There were sneaking suspicions.
Yes.
And it is a new show from Vince Gilligan, who made Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, those kind of things. Incredible storyteller. And the logline for it that I remember reading was that the most miserable person on earth has to save everyone from being happy. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And the trailers were like, people taking drugs and stuff. And I was like, okay, interesting. Lots of smiley faces. But it turns out the show opens, and this isn't spoilers because it opens with this. I'm going to be very conscious of spoilers. But it opens with a bunch of scientists at the Very Large Telescope Array, the VLA, finding a signal from space, and you kind of get to see them try and decode it and troubleshoot it, and it's probably how it would actually look in real life, because it was really boring and not very sexy, and it was a bunch of nerds just like mocking each other and making jokes and going like, whoa, what if this, what if that? I don't know how far to go because I don't want to spoil it for people, but the signal, it's not straightforward. And I would say think more about viruses than ET. And I guess I would leave it there.
Yes. And it's out there already that it's like, there's a virus. It's a virus related story. So that's not a spoiler. That's already out there.
Sure.
Yes.
And I love that because it's hitting that life as we don't know it thing. If we encountered an intelligent life form that was in the form of a virus and it built ships that didn't have a pilot's chair because it lives in the walls and it interacts with the ships on a molecular level, that would be baffling to us, and we would only be able to reverse engineer just a little bit of that technology, like Lukatsky said. So I wonder if this is where we're going with this kind of stuff, you know? There's an interesting allegory for religion in the show and tech bros as well for me, where there's this, placating everybody and trying to give everyone the answer that they want to kind of not get the blowback from them. And then with the religious allegory, it might be spoilers to say, but some people die when this happens. Not everyone dies, but some people die. Yes. And there's kind of a conversation in the show about, well, if you kill 50 million people in the act of saving 10 billion people, is that worth it? Are you a bad person or are you a good person? And that kind of, just hits on religion for me. Going around the world, conquests, saying, take God into your life, and if they refuse, showing them you have a bigger gun or a sword or something like that. And so it's plugging into that, and there's no easy answers for it. But I think it's a really provocative question.
Yeah, I also got like this weird, like social media kind of, I don't know if I can say too much. It's going to spoil. Maybe I can't say.
Say it, and I'll tell you afterwards if you need to cut it out.
I got this kind of wild, like, social media, like kind of hive mind feeling watching it. Which is like everybody is like saying the same thing, and people are like, it's like, like when you're, for example, when it's your birthday on Facebook and like everybody says happy birthday, but like it's now it's to the point where it's like
HBD.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't even write it. It's just
and now it's to the point where it's like Facebook is like giving you the words to say. So people just like click a button and it's like sent. I got that vibe from it. Like, this is kind of like echo chambers or something. I'm getting this feeling about, what it's like to live in, a society where everybody thinks the same and says the same and, so anyway.
Yeah, and sure, you lose in those societies like that, you lose war and you lose crime and you lose, like racism, homophobia, all these kind of things. Yeah. But is it worth it? What's the cost there? Like you losing a cultural identity in a way and the uniqueness, and that it's all in the show, right?
Yeah, that's the deeper question. Vince Gilligan is a genius. And
he is.
Again, I will watch anything that he puts out, and he started on the X-Files, did he not? I mean, he
did with Bryan Cranston. Right? In fact, he made an episode of the X-Files with Bryan Cranston that years later would result in Breaking Bad being made. Like, that's such a cool little sync there. And the episode is a great episode as well. I can't remember what it's called, but Mulder has to drive across like east, and Bryan Cranston. I should say Mulder doesn't have to drive that. Mulder is kidnapped by Bryan Cranston, who is driving east because it reduces like pressure in his head. And he says that the government have been like frying him with microwaves and stuff like that. And so it's just this like really cool character piece. It's like Scully's trying to get to Mulder to save him, but Mulder's trying to save Bryan Cranston's character. And it's just, it's great.
Yeah. So like the roots run deep. They run deep.
They do.
Man.
They really do.
Yes.
They really do.
Awesome.
Okay. So
all right.
We're just coming to the end here. So I wanted to pose a question to people. I got this from Super Happy Vibes over on X, and they asked me what my favorite kind of public comment from an official was on UFOs. But rather than put it here, because we're like probably like hour and a half, 2 hours in anyway, I wanted to ask people to send in theirs, and we'll discuss the best ones in the next episode and kind of play them all. What we're looking for is send in your favorite clip of someone reputable or official talking about UFOs. Don't worry about length. Keep it short. Like, like the one I'm thinking of is probably 15 seconds long, if that. But yeah, and we'll look at them next time.
I love that. Crowdsourced documentary.
Oh yeah, for sure, right? all the good stuff. We'll put them all together and it'll just be age of disclosure.
Yeah.
It'd be funny. This is usually the time where we do UFO or UFno solution.
Right. Oh my gosh, we have to do that. Oh, but did we do it already? I guess we kind of
did it already.
Did we do it?
Because I foolishly told you all about it at the beginning. So
okay. So we don't.
So I can say that I don't know what that was. So for me, that is an unidentified flying object. That is UFO.
Yes.
What about you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 100%. I would need to see it zoomed in a little more. I was like,
Sure.
I have a hard time seeing it from here. But yeah, just the motion of it, it just aligns way too closely with all of the visuals I've seen of like the silver orb spheres, just like floating through the sky, right? Like it's bananas. So definitely UFO for me. Yes.
It's also bananas, Roz, that, you joke that I have like this repository of footage from my own experiences, but are these things following me?
Well, I mean, you were talking about, you've been summoning, you've had the experience. I mean, it's possible, Dan. I don't want to scare you, but it's possible.
I hope they're nice.
Well, hey, apparently,
if I get abducted, I'll steal a fork and I'll bring it back or something. Like I'll pilfer something from the ship because that's how us British do. We just steal things.
And according to Beatrice's studies, they've been following all of us, for at least
okay, that makes me feel better.
70 years, yeah.
We're all in prison together. Amazing.
Awesome. All right. This has been fun. Yes.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to Roz, as always. It's been an excellent conversation. And I hope everyone learned a little something new and enjoyed the fact that there are just vaginal contractions out there in the universe for aliens to pick up.
Who knew?
Who knew? Who knew? Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Spotify or on your chosen platform. They really help. They really, really help. So please do that. It'd be very much appreciated. Or, just share it with someone, one person. If everybody that listens shares it with one person, that would be great. It just helps us find our tribe, and that's awesome. If you want to support the show and get access to a 1-hour live chat each month and early ad-free access, as well as watching Phenomenology and all these cool interviews that Roz did with people like Stanton Friedman and Travis Walton a few years back, they're all on a Patreon. You can sign up at the link in the show notes or our website, www.tobehumanshow.com. Feel free to reach out via the contact page or email us at hello@tobehumanshow.com with any questions or with your public clips that we asked for. You can also find us on Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, or X at tobehumanshow.com. As always, remember to be curious. The universe is bigger than we know.
What It Means to Be Human is a double-barrel production. This week's episode was produced by Roz Mugford and Dan Zetterstrom. Sound post-production by Parker Mosley with technical support from Dale Mugford. Our theme music is by Thunderbird.